This is Luke Iorio, and here's this week's Meaningful Moment. There are just so many fun things about having little kids. They, teach you so many different things. They reconnect you to so many different things. And the other day, one of those really old sayings came back out that maybe some of you remember from childhood of "you are what you eat." And, it really got me thinking, but in maybe a different way, because my mind didn't go to nutrition. It didn't go to food. Instead, in my mind, when I heard "you are what you eat," after having a couple of associations with that from back on the playground, where my head went was "you are what you consume." And in the type of climate that we're in with social media, the 24-hour news cycle, politics and economy, and editorials passing themselves off as news, all the types of things that are out there, the violence that we see, unfortunately, not just on TV shows and in games, but see out in our streets. There is so much that is out there that affects us. And you may not realize how much that really does impact you in terms of your disposition on a given day, your mood on a given day, the way that you go about making decisions. And so many other ways, your relationships and communication, everything else, we pick up, we're sponges. Even when we don't realize that we're picking so many things up, our subconscious is always pulling that data and that information and everything that's feeding into our minds. And so you only know what it is that your brain makes you aware of in that moment, but believe me, it is soaking it all up. There was this incredible study that was done in social science where something as simple as they were going to ask a series of participants, there's about 40, 50 people that they did this with, actually two different groups of 40, 50 people they did this with, where all they were asking them was about their mood and how they were doing on a certain day and what their outlook happened to be. But before they had asked them these questions, that really was just a gauge of kind of their life satisfaction and their mood at that moment, they simply had them do a little bit of proofreading and a little bit of editing. And for one group, they gave a series of editorial that had a lot of negative news. And they were editing things about how bad people's days were going, the troubles they were having, the challenges they were having, the negativity that they happened to be facing at that moment. And to the other group, they gave a lot of stories and news that had to do with the positive. And things that were going really well, things that were very heartwarming, things that were very nurturing, those types of stories to take a look at and to edit. Well, you may not be surprised to find out that when they then did those follow-up questions around life satisfaction and mood and disposition, perspective, and everything else, sure enough, the group that had viewed the negative information, that edited that, ended up having more negative mindset and negative answers and were generally more dissatisfied than the other group that had viewed the more positive information. This was something as simple as editing a couple of paragraphs of information, not the bombardment that we get on our social feeds on Facebook and Twitter and everything else. It's not the bombardment that we get on the cable news channels and TV in general, let alone the horror that is usually our 6 o'clock news. But at least they slip in that one little 5.5 second positive story usually at the end, right? And so I think what I'm sharing with you guys is to just be really conscious of what you're consuming, to be careful of what it is that you're eating, because the way in which all of this information, all these stories and the rhetoric that is out there, it really begins to seep in and skew the way that we see the world, the way that we see each other, the way we communicate and treat one another, let alone the decisions that you make, the identity that you attach yourself to, the possibilities that actually exist or don't exist based on the way that you're viewing it. So you want to be really, truly careful about what it is that you're consuming. As you can tell, I love consuming nature. It's one of the things that I eat, as it were. I love being out here because it's one of the things that completely feeds me, and it is something that grounds me and connects me to who I am and clears my mind. It's meditative and reflective and everything else as well. And so the reason why I share that is to know what are the practices that you have or you want to develop so that you're consuming the things that feed you, the things that feed your purpose, the things that feed the type of relationships that you want to have, the things that feed the type of energy and mood that you want to have that affect those relationships, the way you communicate and the way you make decisions. Because you want to give that to yourself in a consistent dose. And so know what your daily rituals are. What are the things that you do daily, that you consume daily, that get your mindset in the place that you want it to be in, to get your energy in the place that you want it to be in? What are the things that you do and treat yourself to on a weekly or a monthly or an every couple of month basis? Know what those things are, because the more that you set up your life to consume the things that absolutely feed who you are, who you want to be, and where it is that you want to go, the easier it's going to get. The more opportunities and possibilities you're going to see that are available to you to help you get there even faster, to be able to develop things within yourself and bring things out of yourself even faster. But it begins with what you consume. It begins with what you eat. So do yourselves a favor, take a look at your social feed. Take a look at the channels and the shows that you watch. Take a look at the music and the lyrics of the music that you listen to. Take a look at what your practices are. Take a look at the friendships you consume, the dialogues that you entertain. What is it that you're picking up around the water cooler, as it were? Take a look at all of these things, because all of your experiences are something that you consume, and they absolutely have an influence on you. Take a look at those things and decide whether or not they're influencing you in the way that you want to be influenced. And if not, change what you eat. Thanks.